Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Marketing Guides for Small Businesses podcast. I'm Ken Tucker. I am your host today, and I'm joined by Ian Cantle in Canada from Outsourced Marketing, Jeff Steck, who is in the heart of Texas with Tylerica, what is it? Marketing
Marketing
Systems.
systems. Yep.
Yeah. And then Paul Barthel, who hangs out with me here in the Midwest and the St. Louis area. We're both with Changescape. So this is a topic I love. I love every time we get a chance to talk about email marketing. People just blow by it as something that they don't think is relevant anymore, and man, are they just wrong. When you look at how a small business can use email marketing, and then you look at the statistics that back it up, it's stunning. So that's what we're going to talk about today. It's still one of the most powerful channels, and it's typically right up there as being the most cost-effective channel for the investment that you make in the email marketing. And yet, way too many small businesses either don't do it or they do it wrong, and then they say, "Oh, well, email marketing doesn't work," and they get frustrated. So, our goal today, our goal today is really to go through and just help guide small businesses to figure out how to do email marketing right, and then just kind of blow you away with some of the stats that are out there on why you should be doing email marketing. So Paul, I'm going to start with you. Why is email marketing so important for small businesses?
Email marketing is dead. Just Google it. They'll tell you.
We should do a whole series on what's dead, allegedly, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Look, email is first. It's cost effective. Okay. Now it comes down to your list. I'm going to talk about this a little bit. You have to keep your list cleansed and make sure that your email addresses are valid. Okay, that's the first thing. And now this is also true. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole here, but with text message marketing, we have a client that they got themselves in a little bit of trouble because they were sending text messages to landlines, and you're not supposed to do that. And they got in a little bit of trouble there that we have to deal with that. But it's cost effective. Email marketing is cost effective. And I mean, show me a less expensive marketing channel than email marketing. Okay. There isn't one out there. And it's targeted. And this goes back to list segmentation. If you segment your list and you're using a real CRM and you have your list segmented, you can be extremely targeted with your email marketing. So let's say you have a remodeling company and they do basement, bathroom, and kitchen remodeling. So you did a kitchen remodel for someone and you have your list segmented, then you can send them an email about bathroom remodeling. You don't want to send them an email about kitchen remodeling because you already did kitchen remodeling for them and you're just going to irritate them. So having your list segmented properly allows you to be very targeted. And it also allows you, and email marketing doesn't and shouldn't always be about selling someone. You can have an email newsletter that's just informative, and that allows you to stay in touch with your clients and build that relationship. And it's measurable. If you set it up right, it can drive sales and conversions because when you build that relationship with your customer and they opt into your email, they obviously want to hear from you. And that builds a trust factor, and that helps drive sales and conversions and repeat business. If you have a business repeatable, like a roofing contractor, that's not really, you don't have a lot of repeat business if you install new roofs. But yeah, it can just help build that relationship and sales and conversions, and it's cost effective. So yeah, it is definitely a marketing channel that businesses should be using.
Yeah, so you covered a lot of great points, and hopefully as we go through the rest of this, we'll kind of talk about what
Yeah, I don't
not
want to
to
step on anybody's toes.
do. Yeah, I mean, what not to do, because you can do email. Look, email marketing is really easy to do. It can be very easy to do, and therefore it's really easy to do wrong.
Exactly.
So, yeah, so I know you didn't want to go down into any of those details because we really just want to kind of focus on the big picture right now. So Ian,
Paul,
I want to.
actually, Ken, before we jump to that, Paul, I'd like to kind of touch on something that you hit on, which is the segmentation. I get a lot of questions from people about what is segmentation and how do I use it. So I think it's maybe worth expanding a little bit.
Yeah.
And look what I tell them. It's basically about, getting all the bits and pieces about your audience and getting them into your CRM so that you can use the power of the CRM to pull out. I want to send just to people that are interested, maybe in kitchen remodels or bathroom remodels, as Paul's example. So, a lot of people think, oh, I've got tons and tons of lists. You really only have one or a small number of lists, but you've got a lot of other information that you can put on contact records and CRMs in the form of tags. And then you can pull out, let the tools do the work for you when you say, I want to send to this list, but only the people that have a certain tag. I run a list for a email marketing list for a nonprofit, and they have regular members. It's medical space. They have students, medical students. They have regular doctors. They have interns, fellows. We have one list, but we have them tagged as to what their interest is, and they get different pieces of information based on that. Not even necessarily just different emails, but maybe within the same email, you can have a different section for each person. So it really becomes about gathering the information that you know about everyone, putting it in the CRM, and then using the power of the CRM to do that. That's the way I kind of explain segmentation.
Yeah, segmentation is critical.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue the small business will have, or any business, when it comes to their email list is if you've been in business for 15, 20 years, you've collected information over that time period, and there was no standard procedure as to how you collected this information. So I mean, I've had people send me, they export their list and they send it to me, and sometimes the first and last name is separated. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes there's an email address, sometimes there's not. Sometimes there's a phone number. Sometimes their list is a mess. And so initially, you have to get that cleaned up, and that takes some work.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't do that, a CRM can do a lot for you, but it's kind of the same thing as garbage in, garbage out. If you don't start with a clean, segmented list, you're going to have problems.
Yeah, and we've talked about that in past episodes. About the importance of cleaning your list before you even try to start using any email marketing tools. It does not take much to be marked as a spam provider, and you could get your domain blacklisted. So we're not going to revisit that. If you want to check it out, we've got a fairly recent podcast where we went into more detail about that. Ian, there are so many different ways and so many different types of emails that could be used, all under this big umbrella of email marketing. Can you talk about, what some of the most effective uses of email marketing are for a small business?
Yeah. And before I do, I was going to add one more point to the segmentation conversation. Just, having, you guys have probably done the same. Like in the corporate world, we had huge lists of hundreds of thousands of people in running an agency now and managing clients' lists. The one thing piece of advice I would give people out there when considering segmenting is don't over-engineer it. Keep it super simple, not just for understanding in which lists you can pull, but start really simple, because you have to understand that even adding in the segmentation on an ongoing basis for your team, like say it's a reception staff at your dental practice, they need to do a behavior change in order to start adding in that segmentation. So you need to make it very simple, unless you have systems that can talk to each other, right? Which a lot of systems don't. So just keep it simple. Don't over engineer the segmentation aspect, because you can always improve it over time.
Mhm.
Yeah. And keep in mind, email addresses go bad really fast. So the best way to keep your list clean once you get it uploaded and cleaned is to keep sending. That's the mistake most people make, because it naturally keeps the system clean. Email addresses change all the time. People change internet service providers, phone providers, change jobs. They change all the time, and bad email addresses are going to get you in trouble. So Ian, let's go back to the question. What are some of the top uses of email marketing for small businesses?
Absolutely. And also, just a point, you talked about the how important this topic is. In the statistics of what is our most viewed podcasts, email marketing is always one of the top watched or listened to podcasts that we have on our channel. So it's, people are hungry for this kind of information. So the top uses, I would say, in no order of prioritization really, but these first few I think are really important. And that's one, you can use email. Yes, you can use texting as well. But you should be verbally asking people for this as well, but ask your clients, patients, customers to review you, right? Give feedback to the business, do a Google review. This is huge. First of all, it hugely helps your business from a social proof standpoint when the next buyer comes along, but also from an SEO and a local ranking standpoint. So super simple to set up. Again, ask clients to review you, and email's great at that. Nurturing prospects. This one is usually kind of phase B for a lot of businesses. Like an e-newsletter is usually, such easy, low-hanging fruit for businesses. You should do an e-newsletter. Once you have something like that in place, and that's really important because that keeps you top of mind. It keeps people fresh and involved with your business. And these are people that have either purchased from you or have subscribed to your list. So they've already pre-qualified themselves as being someone of interest. But nurture prospects. I mean, it's very, you have to be very strategic and thoughtful, and you can dive deep into segmentation, but you don't have to, right? Take a first step, create a nurture program where, after somebody books an appointment with you, even if it's just a discovery call, or they walk into your practice and they want to get more information, throw them into a nurture program. And what it does is it predisposes them to positioning you as the expert or the product or service that they're most likely to buy, because you're educating them. You're pre-educating them on your services, your products, the particular way you deliver them. So super valuable. If somebody signs up for an e-newsletter, you should send them an email that thanks them for subscribing. I mean, it just makes sense, right? Welcome.
And tell them what to expect.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Create expectations. And I think that also goes into that nurturing prospects, right? Like that's all about creating expectations, not just on how you're going to deliver the service or the product, but also the benefits of it. Your e-newsletter, right, should share company news, updates. You can do separate emails related to that. If you do press releases, you can send out a press release in an email as well, just to inform your fans about what's going on. You should be promoting new products and services with your list, of course. But I would even add to that, and this is super overlooked from my experience, you should be educating all of your existing clients, customers, and patients on your existing services. It's always assumed by businesses that your current customers understand your full product offering. And that's absolutely untrue. You have to keep informing them. So as an example, like in our e-newsletters that we do for our business, but also for our clients, we always do like a featured service. And that's just to highlight, hey, here's something you may not be aware of. And essentially it's cross promotion, right? You're cross-selling. If you have discounts, offers, deals, customer appreciation type things, like, hey, if you become a customer or a patient or whatever it is, if they buy from you, you get this, right? So you should be promoting those. You can do referral type emails where you're actually asking your existing customer base for referrals, sending educational content, tutorials. All of this stuff is super important. On the dental side, we often put in place post-treatment emails. These are videos from the dentist walking people through like what to expect after a treatment. Not only does this educate the patient and put their mind at ease, because they might be wondering like, hey, is this discomfort a big deal, a small deal? How do I appropriately handle it? Man, it really reduces the number of follow-up calls that people call in just asking really simple questions, right? That you can educate them on. You should be featuring customer testimonials and reviews. This is something I'm not particularly good at, and that's like we put them in our newsletter. But if you launch something for a client, like we as agencies, when we launch a new client's website, there's no reason why we can't inform our current customers that may be interested in buying a new website that we've just launched this new website for a client. Check it out, announce it. We would do it on social, not often done on email. One of the lowest hanging fruits, I would say, for any business is re-engaging stagnant customers or patients. You should be going through your contact list. Dentists and doctors are a little bit better at this because they understand the value, especially with recurring services like dental hygiene or something like that, right? But I'm still amazed at the number of times this is overlooked, where they're like, we need to raise our revenue. Well, have you done a reactivation campaign in a while?
Yeah.
Nope. So those kind of things are really valuable. And I mean, there's so many uses. I think Jeff's going to share some as well, but that's kind of my top ones. And then in addition to that, I would just add, as more and more businesses, especially in the trades, because they now understand it's changed a little bit since COVID. It was really bad during COVID and after COVID. Now there's a bit of a surplus in potential employees, but I think a lot of businesses, small businesses, have now come to the conclusion that, wow, we need to really focus on attracting great hires, and it takes effort over time. And so even including this in your e-newsletter, that you're looking for the best of the best, refer your friends, family, colleagues, whatever, to us, and here's our process. And it's a link to your website where they can apply. But, reinforcing what the customer culture is and the values you have and why you look for such great people. I mean, there's, again, so many uses for email, but that's my top list.
Yeah. I mean, it's important to realize when somebody gives you their email address, that has transactional value. And so you need to respect that. And so the best way to kind of think about it is to deliver value in advance. You want to provide information that's helpful, that solves people's problems or helps them even diagnose a problem, so that they can not only, maybe it's just to help them clarify and understand maybe what it is, so that they can reach out and start to take action. Lots of different things, but yeah, it's super important.
One of the things that kind of underlies everything with the email marketing is how you get people's email addresses, right? And that's a whole other topic. It's been discussed before, but kind of relevant to some of the things Ian was just talking about, that I've done in the past, especially it works well with home services businesses, is when somebody wants to set an appointment with you, use that as the opportunity to get their email address. And sometimes they hesitate, but if you say, look, I want to send you some relevant information so that you can get the most out of our meeting, a bunch of things happen. One is they're more willing to give you the email address, but two is you're starting to differentiate yourself. So you can use your email and how you use email as a differentiator from your competition. But what we would do is we would send them a series of emails in advance, so marketing automation, and it would give them things to think about, things to prepare for, questions we were going to ask and talk about anyway. But if they came into the home appointment with those things top of mind, then the meeting became so much more effective. For instance, as a house painter, you don't have to stop and ask, do you have colors picked out? If you do that in the meeting, they may go no, and well, that changes things as to how you look at the job. You have to paint one coat or three. So prepping people in advance through email, getting their address because you're going to prep them through email, and then using that to start to build the rapport and relationship and set yourself apart is just, one of the examples that kind of ties into what Ian was talking about. And really everything else, what you said, Ken, it's about the relationship, about growing and expanding the relationship with your prospects and clients.
Yeah. So Jeff, let's this is I think going to be a fun section here. Talk about some of the most compelling statistics on the effectiveness of email marketing. I mean, gosh, there are so many when you start to investigate this, and we monitor this and we kind of see some of these things come to fruition, it just in the daily execution of what we do. But kind of go through some of the ones that really stand out to you.
Yeah. Oh boy, Ken, you do realize you gave the numbers and facts and figures question to the analytical engineer in the group, right? So, yeah, I think before I dive down into some of those, I want to point out that whole thing about the buyer's journey and how much of the buyer's journey, how much of the decision is made before you're even talking to your prospect. And that pre-sales component of email and getting people into the sales funnel and using email to nurture and to feed them information is important to keep that in mind as well. And then the same thing for retention. But in terms of, the whole email is dead, email doesn't work, I think in some aspects it might be, but that comes about from people using it the wrong way. Certainly the people that are using it effectively are still very successful. It forms a very critical component of their overall marketing system, as we always talk about marketing systems, since we're all duct tape marketers. But let's look at some of the statistics. So in terms of the reach and user base, there are over 4 billion daily email users worldwide, about half the population. So that's huge potential if you can tap into and use it right. And that comes from HubSpot. I don't know that I'll mention the sources of all these. You can ask in the comments. We can certainly respond. We just run through some of the statistics, and you can Google them. You can ask us, and we'll send them to you. But this is all data that have come from very relevant third parties. In terms of the return on investment, one of the big questions we always get asked, what's the return on investment is going to be? It's huge in the email marketing space. It can be like 3,200%, 3,200%, 32x for every dollar spent. And that's because it is a medium that you can very efficiently reach a lot of people. So you can cast a very wide net and get the responses you get back because it's so cost effective to do that. The ROI is huge. Email can outperform social media. It can be 40 times more effective at acquiring new customers compared to Facebook or Twitter. And again, I think that's because it's more focused, right? The social media has its place and it's important for building your company personality. But when you want to provide focused information to people, I think email is a much better way to do that.
Well, it shows up in somebody's inbox.
Yeah.
Whereas a post on Facebook or another social media platform, they may never even see it.
Yeah. The social media has been doing more and more. It's out of necessity for keeping their volume down. I remember the early days of Facebook. I saw everything everyone ever posted, and that's not the case anymore because it's too much volume. So it's being filtered down. And yep, email shows up in the inbox, and even if it's just the subject line, it may be click and delete. We get into how to write effective emails, a different topic, but even if it's just your business name and a subject line, you've gotten somebody's attention for a few seconds, and then maybe that few seconds turns into 10 or 20 seconds when they open the email. Then maybe that turns into going where you want them to go, to your website or back to your social media. But yeah, it's an attention getter, even if for a brief moment. Then it's up to the rest of what you do to grab their attention. If we talk about branding, and this is maybe a little more relevant for big brands, but once you have an established reputation and you're known to an audience, 61% of consumers will say they prefer email communication from their brands. They want to hear what's going on. They like to be kept in touch, be kept in the loop, be notified of new offers, of new products. So yeah, just that statistic alone says it remains a preferred channel for marketing messages. It can have high engagement. The average email open rate is currently running between 46 and 50%. I need to be a little careful with open rates as a vanity metric,
Right.
especially since some platforms are starting to auto open now and pre-screen emails. I wouldn't focus solely on that, but I mean, the fact that they're getting through, they're getting delivered, and people are opening them and taking a look at them, that's an indicator there's a strong likelihood that your message is being seen by your subscribers. Click-through power. This is, I think, where email really starts to shine. When you have a call to action in your email to click here, you're starting to learn about people's intent, but you're taking them someplace where they're going to go deeper into your funnel. They're going to do more. So you're 6 times more likely to get a click through from an email campaign compared to just putting something out, in a tweet or X or whatever it's called now. So again, email has the capability to get people's attention and drive action. In terms of sales, right? If you're targeting e-commerce audience, online shopping audience, 81% of online shoppers who receive emails based on past purchases are going to come back and make another purchase as a result of getting an email. So again, it's that rapport. It's that staying top of mind, staying in touch with your audience. You see the thread here, the pattern of how to use the tool effectively. It's not just spam something out, hey, buy our stuff, but it's using it to build that rapport, build that presence, and stay top of mind. In the B2B lead generation space, 42% of B2B organizations consider email one of their most effective channels for generating new leads. I get tons of emails every day. I ignore some of them, but I act on others. I'll go check it out. I'll go see what they're talking about. What's it about? And I've purchased several things based on cold email. So cold email can be tough, can be a numbers game, but it does have its place and it can work if done the right way for the right audience. ROI again, if you have a very large list, that probably doesn't apply to a big chunk of our audience, but companies with very large lists can see as much as a 94% return on their investment. I think that goes to the numbers game aspect of it, being very efficient way to reach a large number of people. And if you have a large number of people, even if the response rate is small, you're still going to get a bunch of deals out of it. Oh, how many should I keep going on, Ken? There's just tons.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many. I just wanted you to really kind of pick some of the ones that really.
Yeah, I mean, content marketing. Let me kind of maybe wrap up there a little bit. Content marketing is using content in your marketing, of course, getting your message out, but it's your blog, it's your email, it's your social media, it's potentially sending things out in the mail and integrating your email into that. Again, marketing systems is the key thing. So 40% of B2B marketers will say their email newsletter is a key factor in their overall marketing system, their overall content marketing success. And I think that's probably a good statistic to end on because it takes us back to the notion of it's not just email marketing, but it is important. It is something that can make a difference in your business. It's definitely not something you want to ignore, and don't pay attention to the hype of email is dead. And even if you think it might be because you get emails, I just ignore them, that doesn't mean everybody else is. It doesn't mean your target audience is. You need to take it back to your target audience, providing value to them, providing things that are relevant to them, and then leverage that as any other tool as part of the system.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, but don't let your own personal biases influence bad marketing decisions. Just because you might hate getting email doesn't mean that it may not, it may very well be the absolute best channel that you could use. So be really careful about that. That's why I think working with a true marketing strategy focused company or agency or consultant, is really a good idea because they help to kind of eliminate those personal biases. I mean, for me, I'm not going to use TikTok. I do not want my information shared with China. I don't even want to take that risk. Am I missing an opportunity? Sure. But, but if I had a marketing consultant come in and say, but your ideal clients are all on TikTok and that's where they all are, and that's where you're going to get your best performance, I'd have to take a step back and rethink that, Mm-hmm. So yeah, just don't let your own biasing limit what you choose to do. All right, Paul, back to you. So building a high quality email list is crucial. And really the nature of this particular topic is, there are two different kinds of emails at a very high level. One is to a list that you build and cultivate. And then there's cold outreach emails that are a completely different animal. And we're not really talking a whole lot about that cold email marketing strategy, which you have to be really super careful about and how you go about doing that. We're really talking about the strategies of how do you build a list of people who raise their hand and say, hey, yeah, I am interested. I want to keep getting information from your business. I want to learn more. How do you build that list? And, what are the right things to do?
Yeah. So, back to your TikTok point, if you're going to use TikTok, get a separate phone and a separate line and don't put anything on that phone except TikTok so China can't steal your information, which is exactly what they're going to do. But we talked about segmentation earlier a little bit. And the other thing, if you're a business, if you've been collecting email addresses over the years, and Ken, you alluded to this, before you do any kind of email marketing, cleanse that list. Run it through an email cleanser, because, like you said, you start getting a high bounce rate because you're sending to bad email addresses. You can get marked. You can get blacklisted. But
a high bounce rate, Paul. Like we're talking, like you can get flagged for like 2%, right?
You can get flagged for 1%.
Yeah.
Especially if you haven't emailed in a long time or you're new at emailing.
Yeah.
So
I mean, these tools, they look at your past behavior using the tools and the success rates that you've had in email delivery and things like that. So that's why continually emailing on a regular basis is important.
Yeah, it's there's something called sender reputation, and I won't get too deep into that. But yes, if you're new to email marketing, you definitely want to start slowly. You don't want to say, "Oh, I'm gonna do some email marketing. I haven't done email marketing ever, so I'm gonna blast out 5,000 emails." That will get you flagged quickly. So warm up that, start slowly and warm up the email address that you're sending from, but offer value. We've all got these emails from different companies, and it's all about buy my stuff. And that's all their emails are. It's trying to sell you this every day, 3 times a day. Buy this from me. And that's just going to irritate people. So offer value first. Opt-in forms, make sign-up forms easy to find. Don't ask for a bunch of irrelevant information. Just say, a lot of times all you need is a first name and an email address. Start there, just make it easy. Like we talked about segmentation. Make sure that you're getting their permission. Make it clear that when they opt in, they're going to be getting your newsletter. They're going to be getting information. Let them know what they're going to get. Personalize the emails. Don't just blast them out. And CRM can help you with this, but say hi, first name, whatever. Personalize the emails. You can use emails for contest giveaways. That's something else. People love contests for some reason. I'm not big on them, but a lot of people like contests, but use it for that. And like Ken said, send these emails out regularly. And by regularly, I don't mean every day. I mean,
it could be every day. I mean, it depends on the nature of the business.
Yeah.
And the audience. Yeah. The audience's willingness to absorb.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it does. But if you're a small business, maybe. I can't think of a situation where a small local business would need to be sending out emails every day. But if
a restaurant, the lunch special every day.
Well, that should be text message.
It could be, but it could be email too.
I think it should be text message. But yeah, if it fits your business model, that's fine. But that comes down to know your audience, know your business, and what is regular communication for you? And it's kind of going down a separate path there, but it's just a best practice kind of thing. And I talked about cleaning your list, make it. And again, if you're using a good CRM, if you start with a clean list, then most CRMs, if you get a hard bounce, they will either remove that email address or put some kind of flag on there that it won't send to that email address. And that can keep you from being blacklisted. Make it easy to unsubscribe. Ian's probably going to talk about this a little bit too, but it's almost mandatory now. Not having an unsubscribe link, not making it easy to unsubscribe is a quick way to get marked as spam and to get blacklisted. So, I mean, I think those are some of the most important things that I can think of.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit on a lot of great things there. I think the one thing you said that I want to make sure we're clear on is we've talked about a CRM, a customer relationship management system, a lot. I mentioned that probably half a dozen times already in this conversation. You don't have to use a CRM to be effective at email marketing. You can use an email marketing service provider that is not a CRM. They may try to call themselves a CRM these days, but most of them still are going to be focused on delivering the email component of that. And these are tools like Constant Contact and MailChimp and Aweber and stuff like that. You could be very successful at using those. We're obviously all big, advocates of using a CRM just because of all of the extra values, and your CRM needs to be designed to be able to handle and do email marketing effectively. Not all the CRMs are well set up to do that. They're maybe really good at transactional emails where it's an email from from you to, or the business to a specific person. But I just want to make sure that we're clear on that. I mean, just use a system that's designed for email marketing specifically. That's where you're going to get your best result. So Ian, I may have taken away one of your don'ts, but I want you to talk about some of the things that small businesses should avoid or not do when they're doing email marketing.
Sure. Yeah. And this bridges straight out of what Paul was talking about related to subscribes and spam. You absolutely, if you are a business in Canada or the United States, there are governing bodies that have set up rules for all businesses across the countries that you need to abide by. If you don't, you can receive some pretty hefty fines now. In fact, those fines continue to balloon over the years. Like they used to be jokes, right? They used to be like, AT&T might get a fine for $2,000 for spamming or something. This is years ago, right? But nowadays we're talking tens of thousands of dollars potentially. So take it seriously. Look at CAN-SPAM, Castle rules in Canada, other governing policies, whichever country you're in. You have to pay attention to these, or potentially the risk can be huge to your business. But this includes having clear info. So just to give you an idea, like how simple this stuff is, it's not complex. Usually it's having a clear information on every email you send out, who the sender is, contact information in case somebody wants to get a hold of you, and easy unsubscribe, as Paul was saying. Like you have to make it easy for people to unsubscribe. So that there's other rules there. They're long documents to read through. But if you do those things, you will sidestep a lot of issues.
Can I just say something real quick about unsubscribe? Yeah. So if you don't make it easy for people to unsubscribe, you're really encourage them to take the easy way out, which is to click that mark as spam button. And that doesn't do you any good whatsoever.
That's what I do.
It's disastrous for the sender though, right?
I mark emails as spam every day, and Google keeps sending them.
This goes back to like it's an earned privilege as a business to have you've earned somebody's trust that they've actually given you their legitimate email address. So you need to actually honor that trust. And I think that's what those rules are really about. First of all, they're to protect consumers from, if they didn't have the rules, we would be getting a lot more spam than we do today. But as legitimate businesses with legitimate subscribers, you've earned the trust of that person to give you their email address. You need to honor that, and you need to, what you guys have said, deliver value time and time again. When you stop delivering value or it's not a good fit, they will unsubscribe or mark you as spam. Unsubscribes are okay. It just means that they don't want to continue getting your emails, and that's okay. That's just part of life as a business that's marketing itself, right? So
Yeah. Wait, wouldn't you rather have somebody unsubscribe who has no interest in doing business with you?
absolutely.
Well, it's better than it's better than having them mark your email as spam.
Sure.
100%. Yeah. Some other things businesses should be avoiding. Not that you should avoid purchasing email lists. Like if you have a cold outreach strategy and you're protecting your domain, there's all sorts of things you can do related to this. And it is an entirely different topic talking about cold outreach. That's why we're not really covering it today. But be very careful if you're buying lists of emails and you're using it on your regular email platform. The chances are very high that just what Paul was talking about, you're going to get higher bounce rates. You're going to get more clicks of spam, designating your emails as spam, which will actually make it harder and harder to send legitimate people emails, right? So you want to be super careful about buying lists.
Well, so legitimate, I mean, cold email lists are legitimate people many times.
Yep.
But they're just not the people who've opted in and given you permission and giving you the trust to communicate with them on a regular basis.
That's right. Yep.
So don't send them from your business domain.
Yep.
And don't send them from your main, even most of the upper tier, MailChimp's, Constant Contacts of the world. If you dig into their terms and conditions, they will explicitly prohibit purchase lists because they don't want their platforms to start to get a reputation of being spam engines either. So, yeah. I mean, if you are doing a cold outreach strategy, like we said, that's a whole separate topic. There are different ways to do it. It is viable, but it's don't just go buy a list and pump it into your Constant Contact account.
Yeah. Woohoo! I spent $100 on a list and now I can email for free. I've got my marketing. Didn't work that way.
And there's a whole range. There's a range of quality of lists that you can buy, right? So some are actually human vetted lists that come from really good sources that might have a much higher, they're validated emails. There are people that have opted in to receive emails from different organizations, whereas at the bottom of the continuum, you have scraped email lists, which are absolutely the worst idea in the world, where you just scrape emails off of platforms and start emailing out, and that's going to be disastrous for you.
And most of those people are probably not your ideal clients anyway, right? So when you think about who you want to reach, it's not a winning strategy.
Your metrics will look real bad. Don't use deceptive practices. So, you've heard of clickbait. A lot of unscrupulous people use that type of philosophy in emails, especially cold emails, but don't do that. Again, you've earned the trust of people. Maintain that trust, honor them. Don't spam your subscribers. Be thoughtful. Don't neglect mobile optimization. This is a huge one, and I still see emails coming through to me from even businesses I've opted into, whereby you can tell they're using a legitimate platform to send the emails, but they haven't tested it for mobile. So it comes out like the legal type at the bottom of, something that you just bought or at the bottom of an ad, right? You're like, I can't even read this email. And so that's not helpful when, consumers are using their phones, and business to business, right? We all use our phones to look at our emails much more than we used to.
Yeah, and that's a good one. That many of the platforms will have a preview where you can preview it on different devices. Take
Yeah.
the 5 minutes when you're setting up an email to run and do that. And also, they also have a capability where you can send a test email to yourself. So send it to
Yes.
yourself. Send it to your phone. Look
Now,
at it
why
on
would
not
you
only your
test
desktop
something?
but your phone. What's that, Paul?
Why would you test something? No one does.
You're being facetious, right?
Yes, very much so.
But I'm
It
glad
just
you
takes
said
time.
that. But you said 5 minutes. That's even being overly generous. Like this really takes a couple seconds just to go, yep, it looks good, or nope, we need to
Yep.
modify it. And just remember that don't use the same font size in your mobile optimized emails as you would in your desktop, because usually on mobile you have to enlarge it a little bit and also maybe even expand the line height so it's easier to read. Just some little tips there. Do not ignore subscribe requests. If somebody unsubscribes, make sure your system actually sees that and does not email to those people. That's a great way to be flagged as spam, right? If you send out another one, and on the business to business side, you usually get a little more grace because people will be like, especially if you've acknowledged that you missed something and then resolve the issue. But on the consumer side, man, you get clicked as spam pretty quick.
But I mean, some people don't even, I mean, it's being mandated now to make it more obvious on how you unsubscribe. But a lot of times people will just reply unsubscribe. And even that is the expectation is you need to take that seriously, honor that request. If you don't, they're probably going to mark you as spam in the future. So you need to monitor your emails and the replies that you get back. For one, I mean, somebody may say, okay, I'm ready to go. Well, let's get started. How do I hire you? But also you're going to get some people to say, take me off your list.
Yeah.
Another thing you can get, this just popped in my head, you can get reasons when people unsubscribe. So even if somebody unsubscribes, there's some value in that. If you look at the reasons people are unsubscribing and you see a lot of this content is no longer relevant to me, maybe that's their circumstances, but maybe it's you need to look at your content strategy and are you falling behind? Right. You need to do something to update your content strategy. So even in the unsubscribes, there can be value. Pay attention to those.
But don't make that required.
Right. Do not make that required.
That's right.
Big change this year. Do not make that required.
Right.
Yeah. And then, just a couple other things to stay away from. Always make sure that you're sending it with a clear sender, right? Some people forget to do the from properly in an email. Just make it clear. And if you can make it personalized in the subject line and who you're sending the emails to, the intro of the email, personalize it. And then, don't neglect automation. You guys have put in some real great points through this discussion about the value of optimization, because it's all about, I think, in my view, it all goes back to honoring the person that's given you their entrusted email, because we all, as consumers now, we all understand our email addresses are super valuable. We know every business out there who is trying to sell to us wants our emails, and there's a dollar value to those. And so consumers understand this now. And so that's partly why a lot of consumers will use like a Google email or a Yahoo email or something, right? That's not their main email. But if you're a legitimate business that they're interested in and they want your emails coming to their inbox, you will earn their real email address. And then marketing automation will allow you to serve up the information that they're most interested in, personalize it in a way. And then what's really beautiful, you guys have talked about CRM and automation, is that CRM automation system will allow your people who interact with these people, right, when they call in or come into your office or whatever interaction it is, you'll have all of the information in your CRM system that says, hey, they were interested in this product or service. They downloaded this ebook. They came to your website and looked at this information. They called in and they talked to somebody about this, right? It allows you to consolidate the interactions with the person so that you can serve them better. And ultimately that creates higher and higher value, which increases sales. And that's what we should be caring about for sure as businesses.
Yeah.
If I can jump in on one point, Ian, that you made about honoring the, and respecting the people that give you their email addresses. This happened a while back. I signed up for an email newsletter, and I won't say who it was from, but apparently by doing so, I signed up for all 5 of those they had 5. Well,
seen
I
that
immediately unsubscribed from all 5 newsletters. Okay. Don't do that. If they sign up for a particular newsletter, that's what they signed up for. If you have 3, 4 different newsletters, that if they signed up for one, that doesn't mean they want all 5 of them or whatever it is. So
Yeah.
like goes back to what you said about respecting the people that give you their email addresses.
Yeah, I want to talk about something too that we haven't really talked about so far, and I don't think I'm stepping on anything, Jeff, that you're going to be covering here in a minute. One of the big strategies to get people to opt in is to give them, some kind of a lead magnet that's going to give them value to help them understand and describe their problem and maybe start to see a way to solve it. And so from a process perspective, in the early days of internet marketing, it was the best practice was as soon as somebody gives you that email, you take them to a landing page, you give them a button where they can go download that asset. Well, people they're becoming really skeptical because there have been a lot of bad actors over the years. And so now I think the best practice is you don't take them to a page where they can go get that asset. They only get that asset by an email back from you with a link to go get the asset, because that way is the only way you can guarantee that you're getting a good, valid, real email address. Because a lot of people just type in a crap email address and hope that they just, get past the gatekeeper, so to speak, so that they can go get that asset for free. And that's that, there's some dishonesty there. If you're really wanting to get quality subscribers and then put them into a nurture program, they need to be legitimate emails, and therefore you need to change your behavior on how you're delivering assets that they are asking for when they're opting in.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So
before I go to my my kind of roundup of some more ideas, I want to jump back to something Paul just said a minute ago about, you signed up for one email and you got on 5 lists. Tie that together with make the opt-in form simple, reduce friction. You can build the interests and profiles and all the tags for segmentation over time. You don't have to do it all at once. So
right.
Make the opt-in form, the first name and the address. You can ask for last name. You can ask for what state you live. You can ask for that stuff later over time. Same thing with offering other lists to join. You can offer those things over time. And that's just part of the take it slow and meet people where they are and gauge their interest, and don't try and hit them all at once with everything and turn them off.
Yep, definitely. All right. So Jeff, just kind of wrapping up some of the stuff. We've talked about a lot, and there's still a lot we haven't covered. What do what other uses of email marketing do you think are really good out there that maybe Ian didn't cover and we haven't otherwise talked about? Or do you have any other additional do's or don'ts that we need to make sure we talk about before we wrap this up?
Well, I think, one of the things that's worth talking about is split testing, A/B testing. So if you're running a newsletter and you have a list, you have to have a sizable enough list to do an A/B test. But the idea is that your subject line, what you're offering people in their inbox to get them to open and read the newsletter, essentially, you can, let's say you have 1,000 people on your email list, and you want to reach as many of them as you can. You can send, one version of a subject line to 100, a different version to the other 100, and then see how people respond, and then send the next 800 using, the winner, so to speak. So doing different versions of things, as with a lot of things in marketing, you run an A version, a B version, you keep the one that works, and the next time you replace the one that doesn't work with something different. I think that most of the email platforms will allow you to do that, and that's valuable to do if you have time. I did that with a client where we were promoting a piece of epic content, and we picked the winning subject before we sent out to it was a very big list, about 10,000. So we picked the winning subject to send out to everyone else to see, who would be the most likely to then go grab that content. So I think A/B testing is something we didn't talk a lot about, but it applies. I think the notion of, we've talked several times about using an email marketing platform. I think that's absolutely critical. Please, please, please do not just put a whole list of people in the blind copy of an email going out. That's one surefire way to get flagged as spam. And then run it from a real domain. Even if you're a small business owner, you're just getting started out and you use your Gmail for everything, use a branded domain name. Don't use Gmail. Don't use Yahoo Mail. Get a domain name for your business, run your email out through that, and kind of set yourself up as being the next stage you want to get to. Like I said, even if you're small, it doesn't mean you can't get a domain for $12.
That's going to cost me $6 a month.
Yeah, it's well worth it. So
Yeah.
Then let's see, just to round out the time, some other ideas. I know we've only got a few more minutes. I'll rip through them pretty quickly. Again, tie your email back to other platforms. Use it to drive traffic to your website. Use it to encourage social media engagement. But you can also
likewise use
engagement on
social
email.
media to get people to join your list.
Yeah, it's all working back and forth, right?
Exactly.
They all should point back and forth to each other. You can advertise your list on social media. You should have a sign-up form on your website. Your email should refer people back to the website, back to your social media. Make it easy for people to link back and forth and see all of what you're about holistically. You can engage people in email, ask them for replies, but even better, ask them to go over and join the conversation on social media, right?
Speaking of that, though, Jeff, one of the good things to be able to prove that you're delivering value in an email is to ask people to reply, even if it's simple, hey, I'm going to be doing a product announcement on Saturday. Just reply back with this phrase to let me know if you're interested. And, when they reply back, they're sending a signal that's, what'd you call it earlier in the call, Paul? The trusted sender or whatever. What was the phrase? Sender or something.
Send a reputation.
Send a reputation. There we go. Yeah. It helps to build that, right? So even if it's something simple like that, that's a good idea.
Yeah. But in general, the kinds of things you can do with email, just think of what you want to tell people that has value to them, but you want to highlight an upcoming event. Are you speaking someplace? Are you speaking at the Chamber of Commerce? I have a networking partner here in Austin that very religiously sends out an email. I'm going to this networking event. Who wants to be my networking buddy? And he uses that to maintain relationships. He is a super connector. He's one of the most connected guys I know in town. And he uses his email just to let people know where he's going to be and to solicit others to join him. There's a lot of value in that and helping make connections. Product recommendations, promoting your content on other platforms. If you're in the e-commerce or just any general sales, consumer sales, B2C space, if you have special offers, promoting seasonal holiday offers. House painters, typically January and February are slow. They can run a winter white sale where they're running 10% off on painting jobs, right? Let people know.
Only white though, right?
What's that?
Only
if you're painting white. Yeah. There's lots of things, referral programs, letting people know in your emails, hey, we love referrals. We grow by referrals. Sharing user-generated content. People like to see what's going on. It doesn't have to be cats. It can be other stuff too, but people like to see what's going on in your business or from others. So there's a lot of things you can do with email and a lot of ways to tap into it and help grow your business. Don't be stuck into it has to be a newsletter or it has to be, buy my stuff, or it has to be, here's a sale. There's a lot of things you can do. It's about creating connections, it's about creating rapport, it's about tying things together with the rest of your marketing efforts.
One of the emails that we talk about in StoryBrand a lot is overcoming objections. Having an email specifically to help people, you kind of get them to identify that they're in the problem, that you can solve. And then, just send some emails, especially as part of a nurture campaign, to just kind of help them overcome their own objections, so that they are prepared to take some action. I mean, that can be really powerful.
Yeah.
Using marketing automation, to send reminders of anniversary dates. It could be a service anniversary. It doesn't have to be a wedding anniversary. But
Yep.
hey, congratulations on 1 year with your new roof. If you have any concerns, we'll come out and do an inspection for free. Well, you know what? Yeah, that costs you a little bit of money, but now you're out there, you've got an excuse to look at the roof. And if you do other services like gutter repair or siding,
Yeah.
you're basically getting a free sales call.
Well, and
So-
that can help you build a referral network too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Or even get direct referrals. I did email follow-ups for a house painter once, where after the job was done, they would get an email a few weeks later saying, "Hey, we just want to check in, make sure you're still happy with everything." Right there, that's a differentiator.
Yeah.
But then about a month or a couple months later, they got an email said, "Hey, we're just checking in one last time. By the way, we have a referral program. I can't tell you how many. Oh yeah, so and so was just asking me, and I've got a referral for you." I mean, that staying top of mind and using the tools and the platforms to make the connection and create the rapport will pay off down the road.
I think a lot of people think if I send a weekly or bi-weekly or even a monthly email, I'm just going to piss people off and they're going to unsubscribe or they're going to mark me as spam. And the reality is, if you're delivering value, 90% of the time, it's very likely that they won't even open that email and do anything with it. But you're still getting a touch point to where you're staying a little bit top of mind. Jeff, as you mentioned earlier, if you're writing good subject lines, you're still getting some messaging across. It's like, and it could just be, by the way, did you know that we do this service? Just as a reminder in the subject line, and now you're educating people and staying top of mind. But you know what? It's okay if they don't read 90% of your emails. As long as they don't unsubscribe, you're still having success. And eventually somebody's going to open up one of those emails. And and when they do, it's probably because there's some triggering event that's, kind of encouraging to take a little bit more proactive measures. And now you're right there. But if you didn't send that email, would that have happened? Maybe, if you're ranking really well on the search engines, but probably not.
I'm subscribed to a lot of things that, like you said, 90% of the time, I don't open it and read it, but I don't unsubscribe because it's that 10% of the time that they send something that is really relevant.
Yeah.
I can tell you this anecdotally, like for our dental clients, when we send out their monthly newsletter, we always see a spike of appointments right after we send it out.
Right.
It's just because it's top of mind. People know they should be taking care of their teeth. They just weren't thinking of it, right? But when they see their dentist pop up in their inbox, they might not even read the email. We don't care, right? We want them to, because there's valuable information.
Right.
But if they pick up the phone and book an appointment, that's the best outcome we could think of.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, just to kind of wrap this up, I mean, seriously, guys, email marketing is so important. And, we saw this revitalized, I think, in a lot of people's minds, or maybe for the first time ever, they realized how important it is to have a list that you can re-engage and get people to come back into your business, during the COVID economy. And, and building a list, I mean, we've talked about this before, your Google business profile, it can be shut down or suspended through no fault of your own. Google can stop running your ads because it misidentifies the type of business that you do, or thinks you're trying to run an ad for something that has nothing to do with the business that you do, because the AI filters are crap in a lot of cases. They filter out a lot of crap, but they're not perfect. And they cost a lot of business to a lot of businesses. Having an email list that you can tap into and use to stay top of mind and re-energize sales activities as you need it. I mean, it just gives you the ability to, it's like if you needed to take a trip, but you didn't have a car, now you have to go out, figure out, okay, how do I, where do I go buy a car? I got to get it licensed. I got to get insurance, yada, 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 before you can even start to go on that trip. Right. So it's a fundamental element of what every small business should be doing, in my opinion. Text messaging, and or email marketing. Pick one or both, but it's critical.
Mhm.
You know, there used to be a saying in sales that you lived and died by your customer list. And so there were all these terms like I'm going list mining, I'm mining my contact list, right? It's the exact same from an email standpoint. You have gold sitting there in that list, and you just have to put some effort in order to pull that gold out of the list and start seeing increases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody has a list.
Yeah.
Whether it's suitable to be used for email marketing right now is up for debate, but you've got a list in your accounting system, in your business email, in your personal email.
Got my Rolodex right here.
Yeah. I mean, if you do paper invoices, chances are you may still have email addresses on that list. So spend some time, if you haven't done so already, organize it. It's super important to get it organized, structured the right way, get it cleansed. Email addresses go bad really fast. I'm telling you, if you've had a customer 4 years ago, chances are that email address is no longer good. So you need to check it and make sure it is good. But yeah, it's critical. So Ian, we could go on and on and on. I love this topic, but I'm going to turn it over to you so you can wrap it up so our listeners can rest their ears.
All right. Well, thanks for listening and joining us today for this awesome topic. Dudes and dudettes of the small business community, thank you for doing that. And if you know any other dudes or dudettes in the small business community, pass on this podcast, get them involved. We love sharing information with other small business owners in order to help each other. And subscribe, send us questions if you have questions about particular topics. But until next week, keep calm and mark it on, folks.